If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
This is Joe.
And this time we're coming back at you with another top 10 list. If you're new here, welcome. If you're an old friend of CBJ, welcome back. If you were here for us for our last episode, we were hitting up our top 10 Bronze Age books, so it's only fitting that we would move on to the Silver Age. Pretty much the same exact recipe for what we did last time. We're going to go over which books we think are best from the Silver Age to collect. Some of our favorites are in here, but this is almost an objective list in a way. I mean, obviously you can kind of mix around the order here and there on your personal taste, but these are the books that we think are like the creme de la creme for that time period. But with that, Joe, I know you like to usually kick us off. What's up?
Yeah, I was thinking before prepping for this episode that it would have made way more sense to maybe start with the Golden Age or the Silver Age if we were going to do a list like this. But in that same breath, I'm grateful because like bronze made the most sense at the time that we recorded because it's like still attainable books for most people. Like the things
Yeah.
on this list, I don't have a single one personally. So as much as I am a junkie, I figured this is more of just like a for fun list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to get into it. So I guess with that, the first one on my list, number 10, Fantastic Four issue 5. It's the first app and origin of Victor Von Doom, aka Doctor Doom. This is my only solo villain on this list, which I think is a pretty big deal. Even bumped out some pretty big books like issue 1 of the Avengers, so I don't really take that lightly. I don't have a lot to say about this issue in particular. Berger, I know you almost came into possession of one of these a little while
Sort of.
back, but yeah, I mean, if you can, it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I did own issue 6 once upon a time, which is his second appearance, which is cool, but obviously it's no 5. And 5 is arguably the second biggest Fantastic Four book other than 1. But yeah, I do actually tend to agree that I kind of prefer this book over Avengers 1 as well. The magnitude of how big Doctor Doom really is, especially when you think of villains at Marvel. There's only a handful of other ones that are on like the same level, same stratosphere, and he got his own book dedicated to it, and he's been one of the lasting villains. So, I mean, if you can get your mitts on one, I'd highly advise it. But with that, we want to go on to number 9. Tales of Suspense 39. For those who don't know, 1963, first time Iron Man, you might have heard of him, showed up on the scene. Also the debut of his Model 1 armor, which if you don't know is like the just straight up like gray/silver suit, not the red and yellow iconic suit that you're used to, which he ended up going through a few tons of different models over time. And a little fun one that most people don't know is this is the first appearance of Wong Chu. Viet Cong warlord actually turns out to be Iron Man's first enemy. You know, everybody here, big Wong Chu fans, don't like the Mandarin, but we do like Wong Chu. Big book. Because of that, you know, it's a twofer book. It's not just Iron Man carrying this one. But
Oh,
jokes aside, big book. For younger collectors, I mean, obviously he's a big tuna. I mean, we've all seen the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For older collectors, I mean, you might have grown up with him. You might have been a big fan, but to the general public, wouldn't say he was like the biggest deal up until probably the 2000s, I would say. I mean, you know, he was always important, but obviously he's kind of taken on a life of his own since. And I mean, obviously the onset of movie speculation has only helped a lot of these books. I mean, it's like a blue chip. You can't go wrong with the first appearance of like one of the core Marvel characters. You know what I mean?
100%
Especially
agree.
now.
Yeah, I guess kind of to speaking to the last thing I mentioned, first superhero on our list, and you're right, the movies brought a lot of attention to this character because had they not, this might have even slipped below the top 10, but now it's like forever a top 10 Silver Age book just because of what Marvel's been able to do with the character. And then also a really cool cover in general. It's Jack Kirby and Don Heck, so pretty cool. Moving to number 8, though, Brave and the Bold 28. So, first appearance of the Justice League of America, the team, and first
Sick.
appearance of Starro the Conqueror. So, although this is technically the first Justice League, I think it's important to note that there's no Batman or Superman on the cover. So, I don't know if he's in the story at
I
all,
don't think they're even in the book.
but yeah, I think they're like assumed members already, which is interesting. Regardless, cool Gardner Fox story and makes for the first DC book to make my top 10 list.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, when you think Silver Age, you think of a lot of big DC books, but you also got to, look at the same time and realize that this is kind of the onset of like Marvel for the most part, outside of like a handful of characters. So, it's a pretty Marvel heavy list, I would say, but this is one of the DC books I feel like you can't pass up in the Silver Age. There's a few that kind of contend with it. But being big Justice League guys, it's in like one of those Brave and the Bold series, like anything Brave and the Bold or like Showcase in the Silver Age, like it was too cool to pass up. Plus the cover's sweet, iconic team. We mentioned that the Avengers didn't make our list. That's also a team ensemble book, and it is cool, but I think the Justice League's got a little bit of a leg up on this one. And with that, number 7, Journey into Mystery 83. For those of you who don't know, it's probably most likely known to you as the first team appearance of the Cronins, a race of rock-like aliens. Just kidding. It's also the first appearance and origin of Thor, his hammer Mjolnir, and it's also the first appearance of Donald Blake, the human host of Thor. So, I mean, obviously, big tuna book. Oh, actually, I think it came out before Iron Man in actually 1962, so it's a little bit older. I think this one might be one of my favorite covers. Something iconic about the way he's whirling around that hammer, beating up the rock people, the Cronins we all know and love. But I mean, it's got everything you want. I wouldn't say that over time that Thor has had like the most keys, but like when you look at early Thor, there's like a lot of really good books that kind of set the stage. I mean, 2 issues after this, we get Loki. The issue after this, we get Jane Foster, I believe. So great book. It's iconic. Also, Kirby and Stanley. I mean, what didn't they do? But yeah, it's a cool one. I'd actually like to add more Thor books to my list. And I honestly, yeah, if you asked me between this and the Iron Man one, I'd probably prefer this.
Definitely a big book. Could potentially be higher on other people's lists too. I don't really know much about the origin of Thor, and so I was kind of looking into some specifics about this issue in particular, and it's kind of weird. So bear with me. Odin, which is his dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Strips Donald Blake of his memories and made him live on Earth for like 10 years as a medical student, crippled too. But
Yep, he's got a cane. That's what
yeah,
turns into the hammer.
yes. Well, I guess Odin also 10 years later implants like an idea in his head to take a vacation in Norway. And he finds some like cavern with some wooden cane that turns into his hammer. And then he becomes Thor again and like doesn't quite remember his time as like an Asgardian god, but like things kind of start to come to him as like time goes on. I don't know. Not really sure why Odin messes with him like Loki does, but it's yeah, definitely a pretty big book and very important to the Silver Age comics.
Facts.
But moving to number 6, I got issue 1 of Amazing Spider-Man, and like I said, I can't fault you if Thor's higher here, but we got the second appearance of Spider-Man in this issue. We got the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson, first app of the Chameleon, which is technically his first villain, and first crossover with the Fantastic Four. And they're arguably like the nucleus of all things Marvel, so that crossover is a pretty big deal. But this is also the first time Spider-Man uses his webbing as a slingshot, and it's also the first time we see him use his spider senses. Thinking about it, you're technically just getting a first J. Jonah Jameson and Chameleon. So this book doesn't have quite the content as some of these other books do, but most people, I mean, can't afford any of these books, but especially not an Amazing Fantasy 15. And issue one of Amazing Spider-Man also kicks off maybe the best title in all of comic books, if we're being honest, given the
Hmm.
first 50 issues are just all key issues or first appearances, or people just love Spider-Man. It's as simple as that. And this book will always have demand.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much more I can say. And I mean, if you can't get AF-15, I mean, this is his second appearance. So, I mean, obviously that's going to be a pretty big one. But yeah, I mean, one of my dream books. We'll see if the day ever comes. But another book I almost tried to trade for once upon a time didn't work out, and go figure. Number five, X-Men number one, the first team appearance of the X-Men, Cyclops, Jean Grey, which is also known as Marvel Girl, Iceman, Angel, Beast, and Professor X. Also, the first appearance of Magneto. Also, the concept of Homo superior, which is coined by Magneto to describe humans born with special abilities. So, yeah,
Great shout out.
yeah, shout out Homo superior. That goes straight past pride right into narcissism. But let's go. Obviously, I mean, if you haven't heard lately, we've been tooting our horns about like loving X-Men. You know, we also had a bunch of X-Men books on our bronze list, in case you didn't hear that or you forgot already. Great characters. Arguably, Magneto, hot take, might be cooler than Doctor Doom. And some may say. And then, I mean, obviously, you're getting like what, a six-piece banger of a team, which are all sweet. I mean, Iceman's probably the weakest. Oh, or Angel. But good characters all around. I mean, and you're getting Cyclops. Cyclops and Magneto are the big two for me. I mean, obviously, Jean Grey rules too. A lot of really good characters. You really can't go wrong. I don't know why I'm trying to tear them out in this episode, but fantastic book. High floor. And I mean, other than Giant Size X-Men 1, these are like the two biggest X-Men books in my mind.
Yeah, I feel like this book just keeps creeping up the list too. Like, I feel like if you would have asked us 5 years ago, it might have even been a little lower. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get into the specifics of this book too. So I read somewhere that Professor X tells everyone that he lost his ability to use his legs in an accident, but he confesses like in issue 9 that it was actually when he was fighting Lucifer. So I don't know. Some people find this book to be a ripoff of the Doom Patrol, but I mean, they must have just done it better at Marvel because I mean, this book just continues to grow, and I think it will stay on the upward trajectory because it's not only a really good team book, but it features arguably the best Marvel villain of the Silver Age, to your point. I would do number 4, but this is all you, buddy.
Alrighty, if you must, number four, oddly enough, is Showcase 4. For those of you who don't know, this is the book that basically ushered in the Silver Age in some minds. In my mind, is one of them. 1956. So we're talking a little bit earlier than the rest of these books. Like we said, you know, Marvel started kicking off. I mean, they had the golden age, but, you know, they kind of started off in like the early 60s, you know, 62-ish, whatever. DC was already on their second wave of heroes in the 50s. So, with no further delay, first appearance and origin of the Flash, Barry Allen. The second Flash, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Jay Garrick was the first in the Golden Age. Silver Age was a chance to reintroduce a lot of those classic characters with like new legacy characters, which by and large are the ones that we're most comfortable with today. Also, the first appearance of Iris West, his eventual wife. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more I can say. It's really those three things, but the biggest deal is that this ushered in the Silver Age, and it did that by, like I said, kind of examining some concepts from the Golden Age that worked well, but kind of repackaging them for like a newer audience, kind of getting a little bit of a more scientific approach in things. And I mean, me personally, if you've heard, big Flash guy, I actually have read a lot of these issues. They were very cool. I have a little like trade hardcover of it, of his Silver Age early issues. They're all fantastic. Even with that Silver Age writing, they're very fun. But I mean, yeah, I mean, and it's my boy Carmine Infantino doing it. If you've heard our creator list, he got a shout out. So yeah, I mean, great book. I mean, God willing, someday I'll have one. But I mean, we're talking low grade. We're looking like over like 7 grand or more. So it's like I'm not really seeing it in the cards, but I can dream.
Heck yeah. No, I mean, to your point, classic Carmine Infantino cover, Joe Kubert. Just how, we had Green Lantern 76 on our last list. This had to be on here at some point in time. Our top 3 are Marvel books. So this is the last love we'll probably get from DC for the rest of the episode. although Flash technically appeared in the golden age of comics, most people find this to be their favorite version of the Flash. I like Wally, but I mean, Barry's obviously the most iconic and deserves to be on this list as a solo DC character or hero. So, that being said, going into number three, we got issue one of the Fantastic Four. So, first app and origin of the Fantastic Four as a team, including all of its members: Reed Richards as Mr. Fantastic, Susan Storm as the Invisible Woman, Johnny Storm as the Human Torch, and Benjamin Grimm as the Thing. This is also the first appearance and origin, most importantly, of Mole Man,
Yep.
which to me feels more like a Daredevil villain nowadays, but regardless, that dude appears here too. Most collectors find this to also be the start of the Marvel age of comics. And what I mean by that is when they quit publishing under like Atlas and just really went under the Marvel name moving forward. And then also, for those that don't know, the Thing was depicted with like dinosaur like skin in issue one and all the way up until issue 10, where we know him as getting his more iconic Rocky appearance. But I don't know. It's by far the best team book of the whole Silver Age of comics and will always be a top three book of the Silver Age.
Agreed. And you also gotta know that this is the first appearance of Tricephalus, which is like a three-headed thing, and the first appearance of Giganto, that big green guy on the cover, which is just like a mutate from Monster Isle, for those unfamiliar. But I mean, it's a cool cover too. I mean, it's classic. I like that you shout out the Thing because you can see the like tonal, like visual change once you get a little bit deeper into the issues. I just got that issue 4 and he still has that old school rock style, that different kind of style compared to the Thing we all know and love. But I like the way he was drawn back then. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you also know if you're not new around here that I'm a big Fantastic Four guy. So I got a lot of the keys, but I obviously don't have one of these. So maybe someday. But shoot, do you want to hit him with number two as well?
Yeah, let me go for it. So, another issue one, believe it or not, issue one of The Incredible Hulk. Does it go by Hulk or Incredible Hulk? Either way,
Uh,
I'm talking about that six issue series that predates the really long run on Tales to Astonish and Incredible Hulk. But either
it
way,
is Incredible Hulk to
uh,
confirm.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so we got the first appearance and origin of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. We got first app of Betty Ross, first app of General Thunderbolt Ross. It's another Stanley masterpiece, but more so my favorite ever Jack Kirby thing.
Mm.
A lot of people know the Hulk as green, but in this issue, he's actually gray and was later turned green in issue two because the coloring was going to be a lot easier. So I think it was some kind of editorial decision. I've also heard something to do with like the print just being wrong to begin with. I don't know. But regardless, cool thing to note in his upbringing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's cool. I mean, a lot of people forget about that just six issue series. Well, I mean, if you're hardcore, you don't. But, a lot of these characters either showed up in like some type of like anthology series or they had like their own solo titles or something. But, he had like the six issue trial here and then he was just, kind of in Tales to Astonish for a good while up until he got Hulk 102, which by the way, Joe grabbed. So that means Hulk 1 will be next. But yeah, I mean, it's a great book. As far as solo character goes, like if you're asking me between this, Iron Man, and Thor, I would have to take this. There's just something about it that it has like a better draw to it. Maybe it's because he was in his own title from the get. I don't know. But really cool book. Plus, I mean, yeah, like you said, Hulk, Betty Ross, Rick Jones, Thunderbolt Ross. It's got a little four-piece there. Great book.
Think it's the first appearance of Gargoyle too. This
Mm.
little deformed guy that likes to mess with the Hulk.
If I was a little deformed guy, I wouldn't mess with the Hulk.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it
I don't know.
doesn't.
I guess even as a kid, I've always been drawn to the Hulk. So whether his stories are good or not, it's just such a cool comic book to have. But that being said, we only have one more spot left on this list. Burger.
Number one. I mean, who could have saw this coming? Amazing Fantasy 15. First appearance and origin of Spider-Man. First appearance and death of Uncle Ben. First appearance of Aunt May. First appearance of Flash Thompson. First appearance of Liz Allen, who does later marry Harry Osborn. I mean, it's the one that started it all in terms of like their best character. Yeah, I mean, really. So, I mean, who doesn't want the first ever Spider-Man? I mean, this is a book that, like, I think like within the past 3 years, a 9.6 sold for 3.6 milli. That was up from 1.1 milli in 2011. This book's going to the moon. I mean, it's Spider-Man. It's timeless. It's his first appearance. The cover is iconic. It really doesn't get better than that. You know, Ditko and Lee. Well, I mean, what else could you say about this book that makes it anything other than like the no-brainer for Marvel? Low grade copies are running you tens of thousands of dollars. It's the book.
Not only is it like the book, it might be like the book even outside of the Silver Age, bang for buck. Like obviously, like your Superman and your Batman will probably run you some more money, but like as far as like how much this costs and how much further it's gonna grow, I don't know that there's a better investment book if you have a spare $25,000 laying around in your couch to get a
Yeah,
beater.
yeah, to get a piece of shit. No, I'm just kidding. But but for real, even just to have like a fucked up copy would be like a blessing. Like that's how big this book is. I mean, even your friends who don't give a damn about your collection give a shit about Spider-Man to some degree. I mean, animated movies, video games, betting, TV shows, shirts, everything. He's a media powerhouse, dude. I mean, everyone like across the world knows Spider-Man.
I think it's Marvel's just straight up most beloved character in my opinion too. People
Yeah,
like the bug guy.
Bug Guy's cool. They've got a lot of great characters, and by this list, I mean obviously they have a ton of great books in this time range. You know, a lot of great characters were created. I mean, it's the Silver Age, but it's their golden age. So, I mean, like any of these books that you can find, hold on to them dearly. If you have a lot of money, go and buy one. But other than that, I mean, I don't got much more to say on this. I don't want to toot our horns, but I think this is a pretty darn good list, Joe.
I agree. Do you think you'll ever have any one of these books?
Mm. Well, collection wise, it would make sense for me to get a FF1 or a Spider-Man one, but unless I become like CEO of like my little corporation within my larger corporation, I doubt it. I feel like the most attainable is going to be our Justice League first appearance. So I might be able to get one of those one day.
That's realistic.
Those aren't crazy. That's going to be the most attainable one on the list.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like ASM 1 and X-Men 1 could still maybe be attainable.
That'd be late in the game for me, though.
Be pretty late though, guys. Hopefully, we both end up with at least one of these books one day.
God willing, brother.
But that's all I got.
And that's all I've got. Well, if you want more than what we've got currently, you can always go to CBJ Pod on Instagram, Comic Book Junkies on YouTube. Unfortunately, you won't see us yet, but you could still hear us. And, you know, it's like the nice little log there that we'll have permanently, our archive there. We've got our Facebook page, pretty similar to our Instagram page. That's also Comic Book Junkies. You'll find our logo. And then other than that, I mean, rate, review, subscribe, you know, if you want to follow us, that'd be cool. You know, that way you get those automatic downloads. You don't miss an episode. But other than that, we appreciate you for listening. If you're new here, welcome. If you made it this far, also congrats. Like that's cool. And with that, we'll catch you next time.
Thank you guys.
Bye.